Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube video today. And in today's video I want to be treating data conversion and input function in Python. What is data conversion and input function? Data conversion is simply converting a Python data type, that is a variable with a data type, converting it from one data type to another data type. We can say that is the type or data type conversion. I've actually treated data type conversion before on this channel when we treated the Python variables, but today I want to be looking at it on its own, data type and input function. I want to be looking at it on its own because I found it necessary to do that. So quickly, let's move into our interpreter, which is Jupyter. I'm going to be creating a new notebook, and this notebook we are going to be naming it data conversion and input function. So we're going to first of all choose our canal, which is Python 3, and then let's rename this to data conversion and input function. Now in Python there are two types of data conversion. We have the implicit data conversion and the explicit data conversion. The implicit data conversion, let's start with that. This occurs when the data conversion is done during compilation of your program. I will explain. When we have two variables, for example, let me call it data1 is equals to 12, and we have data2 is equals to 45.0. Now when we check the type of these two variable names that we've declared, we will see that we'll be having the integer and the float. Let's quickly do that. Print type, and then we have data1. So print type, we have data2. Now when we print these two types, we will have an integer and a float, and when we carry out an operation on these two variable names, you will see that one particular data type has to be chosen. Our answer cannot be in the two data types. When we carry out any operation using these two data types, one data type has to be chosen. And now take note, Python will choose the data type that will give more information about the answer. What do I mean? Let's quickly say, let's declare sum is equals to data1 plus data2. And if we say sum, now let's check the type of sum. Type sum float. Now float was able to give more information about the expression that we had here, which is data1 plus data2. If this had given us in integer form, we will get to see that this point will no longer exist. For example, if this were to be 45.23. If it were to be this, and we run this code, run this expression, you will see that if it was an integer, it will not be able to give us this 0.23. It won't be able to do that. So Python will always go with the data type that will give us better information of our variable. So when we now talk about, this is for implicit data conversion. This is what we can say is implicit data conversion. When we now want to now look at the explicit data conversion can also be called typecasting, can also be called type, aka typecasting. Just like we treated in the previous video under Python variable, we use there are functions that are there if we want to convert from one particular data type to the other. For example, let me make this a note. For example, if I want to convert, if I have a data type, let me say like data1 that is an integer, or data2 that is in float, and I want to convert it to an integer, I'll make use of the function int, whereby I will put in, this is where I will put in the variable name that I want to convert. This is where I'll put it in. And if I have a float and I want to convert it to, if I have an integer and I want to convert it to float, I simply use the function float. And in here, I put in the variable name. It's as easy as that. But now, at this point, there are manipulations that could be done depending on the type of data we have. Let me explain what I mean. If we have a string data type, for example, there are some kind of operations that can be performed with it. Not all operation can work with a string. Example, if I have a variable name and this name is Samuel, and I have another variable, let me call it surname, and this surname, let me assume, is God's power. Let me assume it's God's power. Let's assume it's this. Now, the string has what is called concatenation. That means if I want to join these two variables, which are strings, I will simply use the addition sign. We call it concatenation. And then if I should say name plus surname, it will give me Samuel God's power. But now we must understand something. Concatenation is just joining two variables together. That does not necessarily mean it changed anything. They are still string variables. If you look at it very well, assuming we probably give this particular expression a variable name called full name. If we get to check the type, the data type of full name, type full name, you find out that we still have it to be in string form. Now, a string cannot be added to an integer or a float number. It will pop out an error. It will bring out an error. So if I should have age, and that age is in, assuming I put in 34 in string form, and I have maybe age 2, and I put it in an integer form. Let me do this as 56, and probably I want to take an expression called age 3, and I want to say age plus age 2. I'll be getting an error here telling me it cannot assign expression here. Are you with me? Because this is wrong. If I want to add these two things, I have to do something like this. I have to do something like this, whereby I'll say age. Okay, please, sorry, I made a mistake here. If we run this, we'll get an error. It said cannot concatenate string. This is not an integer. What is not an integer? Age2 is not an integer. But if I want to get to add this, how do I do it? I'll just simply say age3 is equals to, already we know that age is in string form, so we can convert it to an integer and say int age. This automatically converts age to an integer, plus already age2 is in integer form, so I don't need to do that again. Age2, and if I should print this, I should get an answer. Okay, let me print age 3, so it gives us 90. So this is just it for concatenation and how we can add strings to integers or floats. Please note, when you want to add a string, when you want to convert a string to integer or float, that string must be in number form. It must be in number form. If it's not in number form, we get an error. Let's see an example of it. If I have a variable called house, and this variable is a string variable, and I probably called it street. If I want to convert this to integer by assigning it to another variable, maybe this variable, I can call this variable town, and I call it int house, I will get an error. It said invalid. It's invalid. So please, whenever you are converting a string to an integer or a float, please make sure that that string contains strictly numbers, no letters in it. But we can convert integers to string, any type of integer, whether decimal integer, whether decimal, which is floats, please forgive me, floats, or integer, we can always convert them to string. But when converting to string, you must make sure that they are strictly numbers. Now at this point, I want us to look at something good. It's interesting. We've been the one feeding our program with data. That means constant data. Once our program starts running on this data, we can't get to change them again. Now, input function helps us be able to bring in data from external the program. That means our user, whoever we're making this program for, gets to input in data. Then our programs carries out manipulations or computes with the data brought in by our user. So the input function makes that possible. The input function makes that possible. Input function is an inbuilt function with Python. Let's quickly look at what this impute function, the power of this impute function. For example, if I declare a variable age, and I want my user to be the one who puts in his age, what do? I will simply say impute, and when I say impute, I would like to tell them what exactly they are imputing. I will say your age. Your age. I could have something like this. Now close my bracket. If I should run this code, you see that your age is what will appear, and a space where your user can impute his age. If I say 23 and I click on enter, automatically if I should come here and print age, it carries what my user put in, which is 23. Please note, the result that will always come from the input is in string form. Please, we should note that. So if any further manipulations should be carried out with this result being brought in by your user, conversions has to happen. Let me give an example. We want to probably write a program that calculates for the age of a user. Let's assume we want to write a program that does that. So we can simply say birth age, or no, not birth age now, birth year is equals to impute, we will now say your birth year. Let's assume this, your birth year. So the person has to impute his birth year, and then we'll now say current year. That's the year that the person is using this program. We'll simply ask him to impute it. So we'll simply say current year. We have this. Please follow. I hope you are. And then with this, simply, for us to get the person's age now, we'll simply say the current year minus his birth year. Now, we'll now say age is equals to. How do we get to form manipulations on this? If I should use the normal subtraction, of course, you know that Python strings does not get to subtract each other, so it will bring out an error. In case you want more details on this, you can visit our video on Python variable. But strings does not subtract each other. So that means if I should want to perform any manipulation on these two variables, I have to first of all convert them to an integer or to a float. Of course, age is normally an integer. There is nobody that is 27.5 years old. Age is always an integer, so we can always say int. We will say int current year. Of course, it is the current year minus the person's birth year. So current year minus birth year. Okay, sorry. Please, you have to convert the birth year to an integer. So we'll have minus birth year. Now we can do this. Then we'll simply say print. We'll now say you are we'll do this. Of course, you know that it's only string that get to concatenate. You cannot add a string and an integer. So how do we get to age? Automatically is an integer, so we have to first convert it to string if we want to concatenate it into this. So we'll say string age. Hmm? Please remember, you have to give a space here. So you don't. String age plus. So you are. So we have to have another this thing. You are so years old. I'm putting full stop here. Then we close this. If I should run this code, it asks for the person's birth year. Now, assuming a child was born, let's say in 2022, and we are in 2023 now, so that child should be a year old now. So let's assume birth year is 2022. Enter. It asks for the current year. We are in 2023. Enter. You say you are 1 year old. You are 1 year old. So we have to know how we tweak this so that we get to know when it's plural and when it's singular. In the future, we will know that with conditional statements. So this is the power of input function. Our users get to bring in their own variables into our program. I hope this was clear enough. If there are any questions, please feel very free to ask on the comment section, and I would advise that you explore more with these input variables. As I said in the beginning of the video, I won't like for it to be so long. So take care. I will see you in the next video. Please like, subscribe, share to your friends who wants to learn Python. I will always be available. There will be a group link below on the description of this video where I'll be answering questions, and I'll also be answering the ones asked on the comment section. Take care.